These guys are amateurs, essentially, but some had explosive training and knew how to make a bomb with shrapnel that actually tested it out.
Hello, my name is Stanley Heller. Welcome to The Struggle. The Struggle is shown on over 30 cable stations from Maine to New York City and points west. In the richest country on earth, yesterday, October 8th, there were 56,000 new coronavirus cases. 960 Americans died. A colossal failure, a system that has failed its people. We begin, though, in Syria, in AlBab, where a huge bomb killed 18 people at a bus station and injured over 75. The video is from Syria Civil Defense.
مين بي معكم جوا؟ علي ياسين هنا. خليهم
I don't know if you caught that last line there, though the perpetrators were different. It seems that in this Turkish-occupied area of Syria, forces other than Assadists may have been responsible for this atrocity. This is one of the children killed in the bombing. His name was Wael. He was 5 years old. Another name for the Syrian civil defense is the White Helmets. They are going to be honored with the Gandhi Peace Award along with Syrian American Dr. Zahar Sahloul on Saturday afternoon, November 21st. It will be done online so everyone can watch. Please save the date. Before leaving the White Helmets, we want to say that happily not all their work is involved with casualties. Here's some video of the White Helmets rescuing a little cow from a well.
بالزبر بتاعنا ابو نزل بعيد اخوي هلا بعيد تمام نزل
قرب طلع ايديك بدك ترفع بحيث ما تشق البقره بالحيط.
لا تكرم
بس اول شيء بدك تسكر السبت شوي مشان ما يفلت الحبل.
تكرم يلا
يلا قول يلا.
بس خلي هذا الشاب بعيد هون.
لا بعد بس نفتح شوي.
النص خاي
خليه يفتح الزند.
افتح الزند
بالعكس افتح. ايه تمام افتح افتح.
افتح افتح ايوه افتح كمان شوي
افتح.
افتح اخوي افتح يا رب خلصنا يلا
يا الله
يا رب.
تيسيرك يا رب.
سكر السطل.
سكر السطل
السطل اخوي. يا رب. اجيب هيك ما رابطين من هون على التوا رابطين قدام يجي يلا روح روح قول يلا.
From the Israeli group B'Tselem, a video of a gang of young settlers throwing stones and uttering obscenities against a Palestinian family. The settlers don't have a care in the world that the Israeli government would punish them. Now, some good news. The Trade Union Congress of Great Britain passed a resolution denouncing Netanyahu's plans for annexation and the Israeli apartheid system. It's a first for them. U.S. unions, please take note. In New Haven, Connecticut, in recent years, activists have erected and added to each month a mound of inscribed rocks called a memory in stone. The inscriptions record the number of people who were killed in the war in Afghanistan and the war in Iraq that month. Stephen Kobesa spoke on the 19th anniversary of the start of the so-called War on Terror. Here's a portion of his remarks.
And here we are in the midst of the plague, and the wars go on. So tonight I chose as a reading some passages from the recent encyclical by Pope Francis, he signed just a few days ago in Assisi. Deceit is in the mind of those who plan evil, but those who counsel peace have joy. Yet there are those who seek solutions in war, frequently fueled by a breakdown in relations, hegemonic ambitions, abuses of power, fear of others, and a tendency to see diversity as an obstacle. War is not a ghost from the past, but a constant threat. Our world is encountering growing difficulties on the slow path to peace upon which it had embarked and which had already begun to bear good fruit. Since conditions that favor the outbreak of wars are once again increasing, I can only reiterate that war is the negation of all rights and a dramatic attack on the environment. If we want true, integral and human development for all, we must work tirelessly to avoid war between nations and people.
This rock was added to the pile. The left has been warning that right-wing forces may try to overthrow the U.S. government. Now news comes that a group has tried to kidnap the governor of Michigan and start a civil war.
Authorities in Michigan have arrested 13 men with ties to illegal right-wing militias, including 6 men who allegedly plotted to kidnap and take hostage the governor of Michigan, Democrat Gretchen Whitmer. U.S. Attorney Andrew Burge announced the charges on Thursday.
The FBI and Michigan State Police arrested 6 individuals charged in a federal complaint with conspiring to kidnap the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. According to the complaint, unsealed this morning, Adam Fox, Barry Croft, Ty Garbin, Caleb Franks, Daniel Harris, and Brandon Caserta conspired to kidnap the governor from her vacation home in the Western District of Michigan before the November election.
The men are accused of planning to take Governor Whitmer hostage, then bring her to Wisconsin, where they plan to put her on what has been described as a trial prior to Election Day. 7 other men linked to a group called the Wolverine Watchmen face state terrorism, conspiracy, and weapons charges for plotting to storm the state capitol in Lansing, Michigan, with the intent of starting a civil war. Governor Whitmer has been the target of numerous protests during the COVID-19 pandemic for using her executive power to issue new public health rules to limit the spread of coronavirus. We're joined right now by 2 guests, Michigan State Representative Kyra Harris Bolden and Russ McNamara, a reporter at WDET, Detroit's NPR affiliate. Russ, let's begin with you. Can you just lay out this, what to many across this country was a shocking announcement yesterday?
Yeah, it came as a surprise to many, but not necessarily here in Michigan, because the state has a long history of militia and white nationalist ties. Part of the Oklahoma City bombing plot was started here in Michigan. And so we go back to the mid-90s, and it kind of started there. It faded away during the Obama era, and then after President Obama was elected, we see the rise again of these white nationalists and militia groups. So the guys that were arrested the other night, they got together online in various groups, Facebook groups, and that caught the attention of the FBI. Plus, when some of the plotting started to involve the attack on law enforcement, somebody got cold feet and became an informant to the FBI, and that gave them a better idea of what was going on. These guys are amateurs, essentially, but some had explosive training and knew how to make a bomb with shrapnel that actually tested it out. And they had tested out and figured out which bridge they wanted to blow up to help in the kidnap of Governor Whitmer. So it was fairly along in the planning stages, and they were set to go and go through with their plot right before the election.
So when you talk about blowing up a bridge, explain what we're talking about here to prevent authorities to come to the aid of Governor Whitmer, who they also had talked about lynching.
Yes, they had, the misogynistic undertones have been there all along. That includes in the protests back in April and May. Lots of nooses, lots of, Nazi imagery when it comes to Governor Whitmer. So that was always there. They wanted to draw law enforcement away from the governor in one plot. They wanted a direct assault on the Capitol building itself in another of the 2 plots.
And talk about the weapons that they were charged with using, for example, an IED.
Yeah, they did have explosives. They wanted to cause as much havoc as possible, in part to draw away attention from their overall goal of kidnapping the governor, but also in causing death and destruction. You don't, set up a bomb to blow up and make it anti-personnel and not try to take out and kill people.
Kyra Harris Bolden, you're a Democratic Michigan state representative. A number of these men who were charged yesterday with terrorism were actually at your workplace, right, earlier, months ago, as they were taking over the Michigan legislature. Where were you? And can you describe the scene?
Yes, so thank you for having me this morning to talk about this very important topic. It's very important to note that this could have been prevented. The Michigan House Democrats have been sounding the alarm since Operation Gridlock that happened in mid-April. And there was actually an Operation Judgment Day, of which they actually canceled session because they, I don't know, perhaps didn't know what was going to happen. The actual day that we were there, where the Capitol was stormed by domestic terrorists, we know now, it was surreal. It was our offices are actually across the street from the Capitol, and from my office, I could see Confederate flags. I could see Nazi swastika paraphernalia. There were signs that say, "Tyrant, get the noose," in reference to our governor, Gretchen Whitmer. There was actually a truck with a noose hanging off of the back, a life-size noose. And so it didn't take much to know that these threats had nothing to do with the governor's so-called lockdown or stay home, stay safe orders. This was a very dangerous situation that we were entering. And I will also share with you something that many people probably don't know. They were actually not allowed in the Capitol until minutes before we were called to vote. So,
and explain when this was.
Yeah, so this was mid-April, and so kind of the height of the stay home, stay safe orders. And obviously there was a lot of angst. There were a lot of businesses closed. But, I think it was just also kind of used as an excuse to rally. We also saw a lot of Trump flags, which seemed out of place for a rally against stay home, stay safe orders. But this happened in mid-April at the height of COVID. So we were not, or visitors were not allowed in the Capitol building until minutes before we were called in to vote. And so it was a purposeful action that we would have to be confronted with the same people that were armed, that were that had Nazi paraphernalia, that had nooses, that had Confederate flags. And fortunately, our gallery was closed, but the Senate wasn't. And you may have seen a picture going around the internet where it was actually confirmed that 2 of the men arrested had previously been standing armed above the Senate chamber. And that picture was taken by Senator Pohanke. Some of the senators actually have bulletproof vests because of this situation. It was not safe. And I will also note it was during the height of COVID, and many of these people were not wearing masks, and they were crowded in our state house. And so that added an extra layer of kind of terror for us. We were dealing with a global pandemic, and we're dealing with what we know now to be domestic terrorists.
I want to go to Washington Congressmember Pramila Jayapal, who was questioning Attorney General William Barr during a House Judiciary Committee hearing in July about the threats to Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. It was a contentious exchange. Jayapal noted the discrepancy between Barr's militarized response to Black Lives Matter protesters and armed white militia members who displayed white nationalist symbols and threatened Michigan's governor.
On 2 separate occasions, after President Trump tweeted, "Liberate Michigan," to subvert stay-home orders to protect the public health of people in Michigan, protesters swarmed the Michigan Capitol carrying guns, some with swastikas, Confederate flags, and one even with a dark-haired doll with a noose around its neck. Are you aware that these protesters called for the governor to be lynched, shot, and beheaded?
No.
You're not aware of that?
I was not aware of it.
Major protests in Michigan. You're the Attorney General, and you didn't know that the protesters called for the governor to be lynched, shot, and beheaded. So obviously you couldn't be concerned about that.
Well, there are a lot of protests around the United States, and on June 1st, I was worried about the District of Columbia, which is
protests
federal.
in certain parts of the country. You're very aware of those, but when protesters with guns and swastikas and Confederate flags, excuse me, Mr. Barr, this is my time and I control it. You are aware of certain kinds of protesters, but in Michigan, when protesters carry guns and Confederate flags and swastikas and call for the governor of Michigan to be beheaded and shot and lynched, somehow you're not aware of that.
Some are organizing resistance and defense, including If Not Now. For more information, see their site, ifnotnowmovement.org. We've mentioned the huge number of people threatened with eviction because of the economic collapse. The politicians say they're working on another stimulus bill, but the weeks roll by and nothing has been accomplished. Most people evicted go on to worse housing, but many become homeless. In Denver, authorities are dealing with the homeless by having the police sweep them out of one neighborhood after another. The video is from Unicorn Riot.
Let's have the residents of neighbors around here, residents who live in houses in this neighborhood, are here to say why they oppose these sweeps, why they say no, we're residents living in houses and we don't think that people should be swept from block to block. So we're very honored to have some neighbors right here in this very block, Alexis and Nike. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Please come on up.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike. I live in the building right there, over there. I have a full-time job. Every weekend I go groceries in Natural Grocer, which is 3 blocks from here, in that direction. Last week, I received a message from the management of my building. Let me pull it up. It says, notice posted for sweep of encampment at 14th and Logan on October 6th. There may be a lot of activity in the surrounding areas between now and then. Please do not hesitate to call front range patrol if needed. For the people who are experiencing distress and chaos due to the dislocation, I think there are more we can do for them than calling the security. Sorry. Tomorrow, Alexis, my partner, and I are holding a protest at 7 a.m. in this location to speak out against the sweep. Sweeps are just band-aid solutions that disband people without offering real alternatives. And we want to speak out against that because nobody wants to be on the streets, so when they do, there are reasons for that fits their situation. And many of the people who are dislocated tomorrow, we just move from one block to another. And then a few weeks from now, we're gonna hear from another community that have the same frustrations and the same dialogues that we are having until today. I know it's a lot to ask because it's easy to just call police or security on people. But I think if we can really make it right this time, we are gonna emerge stronger and a more united Capitol. Thank you.
Thank you, Mika. Can people hear me? So my name is Alexis, and I'm also a resident at that building over there that looks out straight into the encampment on this street, Logan Street. And we know that people have differing opinions on a solution to homelessness, and we had opportunities to hear from them. We posted 2 days ago on the Nextdoor social media app that we were holding a protest tomorrow. We got from 20 people about 200 comments, and many of them were depicting the houseless people as criminals, drug dealers, and then brushing over all of them as, you know, as criminals. Like no one was worth, you know, being housed. And so we understand that the opinions differ, but before they get to that, people often say, we feel for the homeless people. And so I see that as contradictions when people feel for people in our neighborhood, right? Feel for the homeless people and yet call them criminals and yet don't want them to be near their neighborhood. So it's kind of like not in my backyard for homeless, for this homeless encampment, right? Put him in another yard that is not mine, right? Without actually addressing the solution. So I'm saying the same things as Mike, but yeah, we really understand that people don't want anything to happen to other people, right? And that's how they start a conversation. And so maybe we can draw upon that commonality, right? And get to solutions instead of sweeping, right?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of unfair about what happened down there at the park. They took our belongings and stuff the same day. They didn't give us a notice. They just came. I woke up to, you know, how the beeping sound, beep, beep, beep. I woke up to that, and they okay, yeah, and they took all our stuff.
That's our program for today. Stay safe, folks, but stay active. I'm Stanley Heller for The Struggle.